I'm Jennifer Wolinski, and I am the host. Today's topic is an interesting one. We're a couple days away to May, and which is Mental Health Month, National Mental Health Month. I know there's a national holiday for everything, but yesterday was World Penguin Day, and there are some things that matter. I actually had to teach people that, Earth Day's been around since the 1970s before, unfortunately, the thing I love, marketing, has made kind of impact on telling everyone a capitalistic way to, everyone gets a day and make it more equal opportunity. There's something to be said by that. Do not get me wrong. Do I think we get a little crazy with it? Yes, of course. But for certain things like Mental Health Month, animal rights and environmental rights and kids' rights, I think the more we talk about it, the better off we are in this world in general, and just better human beings to educate everyone about something that might be incredibly important. And that leads to the topic today. I saw a LinkedIn ad or video showing a soccer game. And if you watch any general sports these days, or if you don't, just FYI, this is how this works. And it also works for your internet stream. What happens is the ads that are placed digitally now are actually very much personalized to the viewer. So in each market, even ads can be different. And that's what this was showing, that it was 4 different segments, the same game, but the digital profile, the ads on I want to say they're not boards because I'm thinking hockey, but on the outskirts of the white boarding before the stadium starts, where the seating is very different depending on what market you are. Different market, different views. And I don't think everyone realizes how personalized your view is on the internet and what that means in mental health. And we'll talk about this a little bit more in this. So when you're watching a game that you like, if you're in a different country, if you're in a different part of the United States, you're not going to see exactly the same thing as everyone else. I don't think we realize that it's that distinct and that monetized down to the individual these days, especially in the United States. I'm not saying that this is depicted across the whole the whole world. I do know the ad space of different markets is true on a commercialized sense, especially in that soccer game, because it's the world's most followed sport. But when it comes to your phone, especially, it is very personalized in the United States and what you see and what you don't see. And I think what I want to talk about today is, do you know that? Are you aware of that? How are you protecting yourself from that? Currently, I'm living in Montreal. They're very Europe, Canada, other countries are a little bit more less capitalistic, let's say that, about how they target ads. They have a lot more boundaries and rules and restrictions for the safety of their communities and their society. And I actually, as much as I love marketing, don't find this as a negative thing, because what they're trying to put rules and boundaries about that, the United States probably will never do, is kind of on shame purchasing. It's about, are you single? Are you fat? It's not just a retarget. It's very much whatever you've looked in the internet and how you're feeling is marketed to you. So if you're feeling depressed, you get 15,000 ads about better health or whatever you get, right? And I find that I'm kind of in Canada, and when I watch the news here, and I'm very particular about what I look at, the only thing I see is retargeted ads off the stuff I saw that the internet saw that I was using in an IP address. So, example, yesterday I was on LinkedIn, a friend got laid off. I didn't know their company was having problems. I looked at that company just to kind of see what was going on. Why did they have layoffs? Was it really a huge punch? And then all day, because I stream on Google Chromecast, were ads about that company. And I was like, yeah, I really don't. Well, I now have no respect for that company based on what I learned, but I then kept seeing the ads. And then I had to agree on the Google Chromecast that I didn't really want to see these. It was just kind of a research tactic. So I'm going to give you an example of something that happened during COVID a couple of years ago, and I think it should be an activity that most people should do. I tell people all the time, Google yourself. But the other half of this is don't think the world is how you see it. And the best way to do this is to trade phones with someone you trust. And in the July 4th weekend during COVID, when we're all in lockdown, I was kind of living in like a hostel like situation in New York City, which was great. I got to meet awesome people, learn a lot of things. And I was living with two younger adolescents in between the ages of 18 and 21. And that weekend, him and I were, they're very intellectual, they're diplomat kids. And we were talking because they were stuck in the United States away from their family because they were supposed to be working on Broadway and really couldn't get back, which was really sad. But the point of the story is this. We did a social experiment where one of them switched phones with me. And I was trying to explain to them the difference of being single as a female, the difference of what ads I see and what they see in difference. So I switched a phone with a boy who was 19 years old, and I gave him my phone, and I took his, and we looked at how the internet looked at us differently. And I'm going to say this honestly, he was mortified on how we market to females and the shame and the guilt advertising. He went on a dating app and was mortified by the way men spoke to me. His feed was much more jovial, and I'm not saying it didn't have any shame marketing, but it was not the same. And let's discuss this. I have more internet history, so the history is going to pull differently. I have to work on the internet all the time, so I have to see ads, and I'm invested in seeing what works and what doesn't in markets because that's what I do for a living. But I am very aware that of the social ramifications of the ads I place and why. And I try to remember that I don't want to do it evil and my intent are great, but it doesn't mean everybody else's. So that weekend was an eye-opening situation for him and I. When he was being nice on a dating app, which you guys would call catfishing, I was literally sitting right there. I was like, don't say that. You're going to get a whole bunch of things you don't want. He learned very quickly that it's aggressive. It is, I mean, yes, it's New York, don't get me wrong, but it was aggressive. It was, he said it felt very transactional. He felt that it had nothing to do with me as a human being. It had to do as female, and I was out there, so therefore they were going to take advantage. He actually didn't make it the whole day. He gave me back my phone and was like, okay, I get it. Like, the world definitely depicts different things to different people. And because he had lived abroad, I don't think he had so much history in the markets like New York and the United States in general that he was being targeted the same way, especially during COVID. COVID was a very different time for ads and stuff. And, the ad spends were down incredibly low, but they were still there and they were still active and they were still influencing our brains and minds. I've constantly watched TED Talks and other interviews about the owners of certain social networks being mortified on what happened in that. And I play video games, I'm on social media, and it's very much a gambler, in my mind, gambler's mentality. You get stuck in a scroll, you get stuck in, I am having an emotional feeling, I'm feeling anxious, I'm feeling whatever you're feeling. It's kind of like a dog who's not feeling great and is warning you to leave it alone. Yeah, you still end up in that. So I think people need to understand that you control what you see, and you can control it, and you can make it not so much a gambler's effect. The idea of gambler's effect is that they suck you in by the sound. You're sucked in by, the visual. You're sucked in by the attention of it. It's why certain games work better than others. it's why the scroll effect works. I remember back in 2010, oh my God, if you had a website that scrolled, you were behind the times. And there's like a shaming of it. Now you have to have both, to be honest. You kind of have to be able to play both of those lines. But we get stuck in TikTok reels, Instagram reels, YouTube videos. I mean, I did a marathon yesterday of carpool karaoke just to listen to different music and listen to people enjoying music, which is one of my favorite things. But let's talk about a couple different scenarios in which you can, for Mental Health Month and for marketing for me to you, things that I do not to create a negative aspect in my brain mentally about what I'm seeing and get sucked into it. I mean, I went to the Art of Living with Matthew McConaughey, and 4 to 5 hours of him and Tony Robbins and Trent Shelton and them. And you control your own destiny. You control who you are, and you can put yourself in a more positive light, not in a negative wording. And it was a huge discussion, and completely, why is it selfish that we're trying to not beat up ourselves? And so I thought about this. You have to be practical about what you're seeing on the internet. You have to be practical about what you get sucked into and what you spend time with. My last thing was the 7-minute expert. Are you an expert in scrolling? Are you an expert of just being a consumer? Do you want to be an expert in just being a consumer? Because is that helping your mental health? Is it helping who you are and pushing forward what you really want to do in this world? So here's some tricks and trades from a marketing professional about how not to get sucked into those spirals and what I do, even though I have no choice but to engage in those mediums. I can't just put a boundary and avoid. It's part of my job. I run over probably 20 different social media sites currently. But it doesn't mean it sucks into my life. What's great about mine is I've removed basically all the exterior. Here's some tricks. I moved all the exterior things I didn't really want to read anymore. I've had Facebook, God, a long time. And Instagram and all them for a long time because I'm a marketing professional. So cleaning out some of that noise that I didn't realize was going to be negative now. I actually have unfriended certain people because their feeds pull in negativity to me. I also only kind of see what my clients' needs are and what they're following, so they can see from a very beta sense, like who's looking at their stuff and what a consumer would see on my side. Some other things are, when you remove all those people, it doesn't mean you're removing your friends. You're just removing the annoyances that pull you in emotionally and exhaust you with negative energy. So I literally yesterday, I am a huge advocate of Calm, the meditation app. So I follow them. I follow Jay Shetty. I did add Trent Shelton, Matthew McConaughey, Maria, and I cannot think of her last name. I'm so sorry. Tony Robbins and all of them yesterday from that segment. And what happens over time when you start liking positive reinforcement information is that when you scroll and you get sucked into that, I'm anxious, I need something to make me feel better, it's not just the image of who you want to be that you're looking at. Now you're looking at people who are putting more positive feed towards you. So if you follow people like Jay Shetty and Calm and Dalai Lama, or again, whatever you feel is your happiness. So mine is, oh my God, WWF World Wildlife Federation. I am a huge fan of the WWF. Now it's WWE. I'm in Connecticut. I'm hometown here from Connecticut, so my love for wrestling is different than most. Well, I can talk about that on another day. But I think people don't realize that you have control of what you read. You are consuming this information. Do you want to waste your time on people who are negative, who are not being respectful? I posted yesterday a Dalai Lama quote about, and Jay Shetty reminded me during a meditation, that we're born to help and serve. We're mammals. We're made to be part of a pack and care for others. And you're not caring for others to be negative to somebody else. I'm not saying I've never been guilty of this. Let me say this. I have tore people up with my special skills. I've had to learn how to not do that. because I was using it as a wall. But I still lose my temper from time to time, like anyone. And when I'm extremely passionate about something, yes. But you can turn that extreme passion and still be respectful. You can still be humbled, and you can still have gratitude that somebody else might not see your view, but you can be respectful and have an honest conversation with them. I've seen a Heineken ad that I was blown away with that was from Europe, where they asked 3 people questions, and it was about females and being LGBTQ related, if you were gay, trans, any of those things. And the person that, they did an interview, it was one person who was and one person was adamantly against. And so they put the 2 people in a room, and there was a couple different couples, and they asked them to build a bar and have a beer together. And they enjoyed each other's company. And then they showed them the video of their completely opposite views. And both and everybody realized, oh my God, no, that is not what defines you. Your opinion isn't the only thing that defines you. Your line in the sand, if you are anti-abortion, or if you're pro-choice, or if you are, if you've had a strong thing, the issue isn't that you have that opinion. The issue is to be respectful of the other side. And do you know all the points of the other side? I was taught in high school by an amazing man named William Armstrong, who wrote Sounder. He was one of my teachers. And to be honest, he didn't want to teach females. He actually told the school for years that I went to that he would never teach females. And he was adamantly against it. And ironically, after he was pushed into it, he said in one of our classes that if he ever knew women were so smart, he never would have wasted time with men. And it was just a funny anecdote that he had to learn later in his life. And respectfully, I've known the man my whole life. He has daughters. He was never disrespectful to females. He just grew up in an era in which he taught at a boys' school, and that's what you did. And that's how you grew the people, the leaders of the next parts of society. And nothing about what he said was wrong. It was that what he knew to be right, to conform to what he thought was the correct behavior of the time. And he was highly intelligent. And the multiple people that I've known who I consider mentors and who've taught me amazing lessons will tell you to keep learning, to read a book. I've heard Henry Kissinger say this. I've heard William Armstrong say this. I've heard many mentors say, take your morning and be to yourself, read, educate yourself about the other side, grow. Just because you're getting older doesn't mean you can't grow. And I was incredibly fascinated by their ability to read other people's opinions, even if it wasn't theirs, to see the other side, and to remember that we're all human and we're not supposed to be here to beat each other up. We're supposed to find our pack and thrive and survive to the best of whatever we need for ourselves and what we can, our strengths that we give out. I heard Trent Shelton say this: use your strengths to your advantage and show off what you have. Is that your purpose? And are you holding that back? And he was so incredibly passionate that he put me in tears in a good way. Like, I love listening to people who are passionate about what they are, as long as they're not using lies, stupidity, or misinformation about their subject to persuade. If you're passionate about what you care about in an educated way, I'm willing to listen any day, because you took the time to care about that and you became an expert in that field because you wanted to learn and you wanted to tell people what you knew. And I think that's a great gift, to actually sit and listen to whatever people have to say, even if you don't agree, just to see where it came from. So other ways to protect yourself on the internet is if you're irritated when I say this right now, playing a video game, I open it and I feel like negativity just comes out of the screen because I'm already past the relationship with it. But I know priorly in my life that I would open certain people's posts or see certain people's posts or read certain things and just get stuck in a mind maze of, how can I win this argument to prove them wrong, or get sucked up that I'm not doing enough. There's so many reasons this happens to people. It can be They don't feel like they're doing enough. They want to prove the other person wrong. It's whatever fear you have in that moment. I joked when I was in college, and it still happens to this day, I'm not the best drinker, but if I go out and I'm in a bad mood before we get there, it just exacerbates it. And I can control to a certain point when I'm not drunk that emotion. But the minute I get into that drunk motion, that fear, that anxiety, that whatever was in that stock, in that motion of in the box in the back of my head that I was trying to protect myself, comes out violently. And it doesn't mean I'm being violent. I have been, don't get me wrong, but it could be how I speak to someone. All violence is not physical. It can be emotional, and we're our own worst enemy when it comes to the verbal repartee that comes into our own head. I literally was in the shower yesterday going, really, this is what you want to think about right now? This is what you're focused on today? Is this working to your mission? Is this really excelling at what you want to do today? And I had to like really suck myself out of that spiral to be like, this really matters in the whole realm of life. Like, you're holding on to this. Why? And so if you see someone in your feed, let's say that out loud, that is not helping your mental capability, or if you can't follow your favorite supermodel because she makes you feel bad about yourself, or the only reason you're watching is because you want to be like her, and not in a good way. She's uniquely being whoever she wants to be. It's your mentor, whoever. If that person is putting a negative thought in your brain about I'm not good enough, then why are you following them? And I'm not saying that in the wrong way, but I follow all the guys from Queer Eye. I find them real. I follow people who are real, who, when it's hard, are honest about it. They don't play a game. They're uniquely weird or weirdly unique, and they shouldn't have to apologize for that. And I apologize all the time. I think being in Canada gets any worse. But I try not to anymore. I am allowed to be who I am. And back to what William Armstrong said, that conformity. We used to think that conformity allowed us to be better human beings. We also thought that the more money you had, that they were making better decisions, and that conformity will get us the same thing. And that isn't true either. The only way to be our true selves is to be our true selves. And every person is driven by a different passion. It can be your kids, it can be your career, it can be in the environment, it can be knitting. I have an amazing family member who I only know how to quilt because of my family, and I watch them quilt and show their love for it. In my family, we like playing cards. I love playing cards with them. It's a passion of mine to do with them. I like playing cards with my friends. I find that interaction and that time with them is fun. People think that's silly. Some people do puzzles. Some people do the crossword. I remember very distinctly doing crossword puzzles with older family friends to learn different things that they could teach me. And I think I even colored last night, which is one of my favorite things to do when I listen to music. But what are you doing and putting in your internet feed that makes you feel happy? What's in your Pinterest feed that makes you feel happy? Is it only the things you can't purchase? Or is it really the things that will help you get to the visions of the things you want to do in life to get yourself out of that depressed state? I think there are many ways to use the internet. I think we have to be more conscious in it for our own mental health, because it is set up to suck us in like you're playing a slot machine in Vegas. No harm, no foul. Just know what you're getting into. If you're going to go do slots, you need to know the negative connotations of that, so you don't put yourself in, debt for the wrong reason. If it's playing a sport, if it's dedicating your time to meditation, I spend probably 12 hours a week meditating. I'm not great at it, but I slot that time, because when I do that, I am more conscious about the negative influences of my life. And I think that we can do that honestly. Let's use the resources we have. I'm blown away that the internet has a plethora of information out there, yet we're sucked into the minutia of it. And you can use it to a great advantage. Some people used to have to educate themselves by walking to the library and finding those books. Now you have Google and it's in front of you, and you can learn all these amazing things and sit through all the opinions and really formulate what you're passionate about. The sky is the limit. Yet 80% of the people on the internet are sucked into the image of friends, what they have and what they don't have, what they're going to buy and what they can't afford. And they're not using it in a way like the amount of times I have to send to a client who says, I don't know how to do this. And they don't realize that if you just Google it, that's a self-sabotaging mechanism. It really, when I'm with someone who says, oh, I don't know how to do this, can you tell me how? I realize that sometimes I don't know why they're self-sabotaging. And I send a Google link and they think I'm crazy. It's like, I just Googled it. And sometimes you have to be a little active in the things that you care about. You can't say, this is my business and I'm only going to do the things I want to do. Guess what? That doesn't work either. So my advice today is different views, different markets, different people. Just because we're different doesn't mean we can't excel all around each other. It doesn't mean we can't find commonalities that make us great. It doesn't mean that we can't be gracious about the people around us. We do not have to tear down. You can tear up. And I am always constantly wanting to increase my pack with people who tear me up, not down, who understand that life is a struggle and try not to get past that. And don't forget that you're the controller of what you read on the internet. You are the controller of what you want to see. I love TV, and I'll leave on this note. I'm not the best TV watcher. I didn't really watch TV. I binge the same things over and over again. But if I'm in a mood and I put my favorite show on, and there's a couple of them that I watch it like over and over and over again. And lately I've been stuck on Bones, and I've seen it 1,000 times, but ironically, I won't watch the finale of most of the seasons. Like when the Gravedigger is there, like, because I get emotionally involved with the characters, because if I'm in the wrong mood, that's what happens. But I watch it because the empowerment of them being different, that being different can still have an end result that might not be what you think. So that relatability to the show, when I watch a show on repeat, it's the relatability that of the emotion I'm having at the time. I sometimes can't watch certain things. I have a tendency to watch comedy and light stuff because I don't want to get sucked in. My brain really does not want to watch murders. I don't like scary stuff. I don't like high drama before I go to bed, because guess what? I'm going to dream about it all night. So I know that actively watching carpool karaoke on Marathon, what could I possibly be upset about when I'm going to bed? What story did I learn that makes me remember I'm human and that people are human, even at that level? Yeah, I got to watch the Foo Fighters. I got to watch Red Hot Chili Peppers, Pink, Madonna, Adele, and and Lizzo, and all their stories about how they got no's all the time, and now they're there, and some people want them to be their heroes, and they had to push through the negativity. And the best way to push through negativity is take control of it for yourself. And that is what I'm leaving you with before I go into a very intense month on mental health. I actually recorded myself to give you a little tidbit when I was triggered and spiraling, and how to work through that in the moment, because I think we have a tendency to talk about it, but we don't show it. And I'm going to show you my crazy, and I'm okay with that. I'm called crazy quite frequently. Don't care. Because I'm human, and I'm weirdly unique, and I don't really care if you think I'm crazy. I think everyone is. And when you decide that you're going to tell someone they aren't, or that you're better than them, you clearly are probably hiding something, and you're not being honest with yourself. Because we're all made of the same thing. We all bleed the same red, and we have to remember that. So today, some action items. Remove the 3 people or the 3 immediate things that make your brain hurt when you're on the internet. Remove them, create a boundary, It is not weakness. It is power to give yourself back that. 2, learn the other side of an argument that you're passionate about. For instance, I don't understand how someone could have the other end of this, but I do it all the time. Why do we poach animals that are extinct? Why do we allow that? There is a philosophy that I don't necessarily agree with, but I learned that if we do organized hunting, that the poaching will go down significantly. I haven't seen the scientific numbers behind it, but I keep reading about it just to see if there are other ways outside of the box that we can save the animals that we keep destroying in this world. So learn somebody's other side. If you shouldn't be arguing an argument until you know both sides. It's a disservice otherwise. And 3, be yourself. When someone shames you for being yourself, you're allowing them to hold you back. And maybe that person shouldn't be there. I don't know. You have to make those choices for yourself. But I am not, I'm not saying I've never done it. I'm not saying I'm not above it. I'm not saying I don't allow someone to trigger me in this motion. But my friend yesterday reminded me, being fierce and being feared on a video game is a power they don't have. And it's why they beat me up. And I'm not even trying to play the game anymore, but yet they still come at me. Don't let your strengths just shine or unshine or not shine. Use your strengths to your advantage in a humane and safe intent. I hope I help you be weirdly unique. And tune in next time. I got some musical lists and some mental health stuff coming in. Till next time.